Hey everybody, it is Monday morning and we are starting a brand new vlog. The lighting is always the worst in my office first thing in the morning, but that's okay. For those that are new here, hi, I'm Madeline Feierstein. I'm a historian and founder of the educational consulting company Rooted in Place. I have a background in museums and public history, and I do contract work and social media education for myself and for companies. I also have a book coming out about the Civil War in October, and details are down below in the description. So what's going on this week? Well, we just came back from the Emerging Civil War Conference. I'm a member of that organization. It's a nonprofit organization that seeks to give a voice to the next generation of Civil War historians. Now, it's a Civil War era, so we do discuss the 1840s through Reconstruction as well. We are always looking for guest authors, so there's more information on Emerging Civil War in the description as well. And whenever I come back from a conference or some type of kind of collaboration event, I have so many ideas. And especially with ECW, my role will be expanded this fall. I'll give more details about that later. So make sure you are also following me on Instagram because I do most of my announcements there. The conference was fantastic. It was held at Stevenson Ridge in Spotsylvania Courthouse area in Virginia. And I had a fantastic time meeting a lot of my colleagues for the first time. We're not just a national nonprofit, we do have international members as well. So we had representatives from England and Canada fly over for the symposium. So I got back from the conference Saturday night around 10 p.m. and the conference was still going on Sunday morning, but I had my own guided tour on Sunday morning here in Alexandria, Virginia. So I had to get back home for that. And then when I got back from my tour, a lot of admin catch up on Sunday. So today we are really getting back into like the research mode with my projects. I'm helping a colleague edit their book manuscript, so I was answering some emails about that. I'm also doing an exhibit for the Capital Jewish Museum here in DC on Jewish patients at St. Elizabeth's Asylum. So I was answering some emails about that. And then this morning, I've been up around since like 7 o'clock. I ordered new business cards because I got rid of all my business cards at the conference. And then I'm heading into now addressing my biography that I'm writing, the biography on Dr. Edwin Bentley. So if you haven't seen my updates video, the last one I posted, go ahead and check that out on my channel. It's just the last one I did maybe like 2 weeks ago. At this point, I need to be creating a timeline for my research. Now, I am going to the National Archives for Dr. Bentley's Civil War service records. I'm doing that actually the first week of September, or like the second week, like the 8th, 9th, and 10th. But I do need to start researching more about the world he's living in. Meaning, for example, he helped with a smallpox outbreak in New Orleans, I think in the late 1860s, early 1870s. He's also sent to Little Rock, Arkansas to be their post surgeon in the 1870s. And so I kind of want to like research more about those places in those years. So what I'm going to do right now is kind of make a list, just write out his timeline, write out where he is and when, and really solidify those dates. And then I can kind of go forward with getting some of that secondary sources, that kind of contextual literature for the book. Hi friends, it's been a couple hours of doing some biography research on Dr. Edwin Bentley. And oh my goodness, I found out even more about his life. If it wasn't crazy already with wherever he's going, I knew he taught anatomy at Howard University. I didn't realize he was the first professor of anatomy because a big aspect of kind of the tale I'm telling, the way I'm framing him is of a civil rights advocate, a very early one, and his dedication to providing African-American medical care and now scholarship and professorship, which is great. So I'm happy I found it, but it also just opens up a whole nother aspect of the book. And then I was watching a lecture. There's one provided by the University of Arkansas's Medical College. Now you guys know I'm going to Arkansas in October. There's a very brief, like 30-minute lecture on him. I knew most of it already, but what's great is this Little Rock archive has like all of his records from him being like the founder of the college, the dean of the college, professor. And then I found, I'll put it somewhere over here, they have a whole bunch of photos of him, which is great. And I screenshot it from the YouTube video, and it's kind of blurry, of course, but I get this 1903 picture of him, and I don't really have, the latest photo I have is roughly like 1870s, I believe, maybe early 1880s. But I was just very excited to see that. And I learned more about his wife, who was like the socialite in Arkansas. She's from DC, but when they moved, you know, she was a big arts commissioner, big patron of the arts. I learned, I mean, there's a lot of intricacies with the founding of the college, and that's what this really focused on. But I reached out to the Historical Research Center at the medical college, kind of letting them know my dates that I'm going there. I've already been in communication with them, but I asked them more specifically, like, when do you need me to request the specific records I want? Because there's a lot. And that's why I'm there for 4 full days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. My flight coming home from Arkansas is at like 8 p.m. I land in DC at midnight. So, because I want the full day, because I don't see myself going back to Arkansas multiple times a year. I also realized I'm probably going to have to go out to California, which I knew I would have to go to California potentially for Napa State Hospital, but I didn't realize he had been transferred to San Francisco in 1869, and that's why he had to leave Howard. And he was there for several years. And I got it so confused, you guys. I thought he went to the Black Hills, South Dakota. No, he went to Oregon. And he assisted in the Modoc War, which was terrible. So when you call him a civil rights advocate, when I call him a civil rights advocate, I'm definitely gonna have to like asterisk it, because the Modoc War was for the forced removal of the Modoc people from this part of Oregon. And he was the assistant surgeon general and operated the field hospital for the military. So again, it's like, you know, civil rights can be a spectrum in this time period as it can be today. So I definitely want to paint him honestly and truthfully. So I did that for a couple of hours, and it was important to do to get some more dates. I'm not done yet. There's definitely some messiness with him being sent to Texas in the 1880s. I need to know more about his dates in New York City, because that's where he got his medical training. You know, when he entered the College of New York, and then when he came home to Connecticut, and also more about his Connecticut private practice, if that was out of his home or if he had an office somewhere. So that's the morning work. At this point, it's around 10:30, 11. I'm going to transition to transcribing. Well, I've already transcribed this medical ledger, but I have to double check my spelling and make sure everything is in order, because I'm sending a transcribed medical ledger to the National Museum of Civil War Medicine at the end of this month. And when I was going through my original transcription, the entries were kind of messed up. There were some 1864 entries in 1863 and kind of all over the place. And I realized it wasn't truly my fault, because when the surgeons were writing in dates, they went back and corrected things. They like postscripted people in, and it got kind of jacked up. So I'm actually creating a brand new Excel spreadsheet and just copying and pasting people in, because it just makes better sense than to try and rearrange the current spreadsheet. Friends, it is now Friday afternoon. I have a client meeting in about an hour, and I'm helping this person who writes historical fiction and fiction works, planning some research for their next novel, which is really exciting. Again, all those links down below for how to connect with me and work with me. Earlier today, I also launched a new program on my Substack, also linked below, and that is a group reads program. So I have reactivated my paid subscriber options, but I set it like very low, like $5 a month. And each month we're going to have a book we're going to read, like a classic or a large tome or an intimidating book, and there'll be readings each week. And in the subscriber chat, we will discuss, chatter, debate, gossip about what's going on in the book. And then at the very end of the month, like the last Sunday or whatever, I'll have like a live stream on Substack so that we can talk about the whole book as a whole. So there's kind of like checkpoints and stages. And what's nice is if like you're behind on reading or like you can't read for like a certain week, you can catch up with the book and chat with us later in the month too. So the book pick for September is Middlemarch by George Eliot, and I have the Barnes & Noble Classics edition, which I very much prefer. Very big font, and it has a whole introduction and kind of backstory, some commentary. It's also very floppy, which we always like in books. Middlemarch is one of my favorite books. I have not read it in its entirety in several years though, and I know a lot of people, especially my followers on Instagram, reached out because they were like, oh my gosh, like I've always wanted to read this book, but like, look at it. I'm kind of intimidated. So it kind of sparked this group reads thing. And for October, I was thinking we would vote on the title together in our subscriber chat. Spooky kind of gothic novel, maybe like a bigger one that's kind of intimidating. And when I say bigger one, not necessarily physically large with more pages, but maybe it's like a classic that people are a little intimidated by, and that way we can kind of chunk it out and have group discussions and answer any questions people have. So potentially maybe like, you know, Frankenstein or Dracula or something like that. In terms of my research, the Bentley book is going great. We have discovered this morning, blessing and a curse, as one of my friends put it, that he has contributed to hundreds of medical journals. There are hundreds of books and journals with a blurb from him about an operation, a surgery, an experiment, a disease control thing that he discovered or is experimenting with, which is fantastic. We have so many of his examples of being a doctor, right? But I am, it's just a lot to sort through. Luckily, a lot of those are digitized with the National Institutes of Health. But I love finding more about like his work and his career. The real issue is I need to find more about his personality. And I haven't gone to those archives yet. I have not dug into his personal papers yet in Arkansas. I haven't looked. There were a whole bunch of letters in his Civil War file in DC. I've accessed that file before in DC, but I was looking mainly at like where he was and when I was doing research for him for my first book coming out. And I kind of like put aside a lot of his like letters of recommendation. I put aside his correspondence with some other surgeons because it wasn't pertinent to the book I was writing. So the main thing is I want to make sure I grasp who he is as much as what he was, if that makes sense. Now today is Friday, but I'm planning on concluding this vlog tomorrow because I do want to show you guys, you know, more of like what I do in my week. It's not just history. It's not just planning programs. It's not just reading and things. I do like to do other hobbies. So I have a couple of things I do. I think I've mentioned on this channel before. I do writing classes with AutoCrit, which is a fantastic service. I'm going to feature them. I take a couple classes each week. They're about an hour to 2 hours. And a lot of them are based on like genres. So I really enjoy writing fiction. I just obviously don't have time to do it. But for example, earlier this week on Tuesday, I didn't get much footage of it, but on Tuesday I did the Mystery Mind, like a crash course in the mystery genre. And then on Wednesday, when I went to the library with my friend, I did the Magical Realism course. It's a 2-part workshop. And then tomorrow night, Saturday night, they have an urban fantasy class. So I'm kind of gathering all of these little tidbits about these different genres. I am working on a manuscript, a fiction manuscript that's like a historical horror. It's dual timeline set in today and the 1760s. It goes back and forth, but it is a thriller horror novel. But I do like to pull from these other genres too, because there is some folklore thrown in there. And so I needed to kind of, there's a course that's pre-recorded that I'm going to do on AutoCrit about folk horror. So I'm very excited. So that's tomorrow as well. And then tomorrow morning, because I'm such a freaking nerd, I'm going to, at 10:30 in the morning, an intro to botany and plant identification class at my local garden center. Because like, I love nature. I just didn't grow up in it, if that makes sense. We didn't do a lot of outdoor activities as a family. I went on fantastic vacations and trips with my family. I was very fortunate for that. But we didn't do like hiking. I didn't do camping. I don't know any survival skills, but I'm also just incredibly fascinated with nature on an academic level. I love studying the naturalists and how they studied nature, or the transcendentalists and how they wrote about nature, right? So I'm treating myself to some science, and I'll take you guys along tomorrow, Saturday, for the botany class. I do have a workshop I'm giving, Becoming a Historian at 4 o'clock, my best-selling workshop. Again, it's all in the links below. And then in the evening, I have the urban fantasy class, which is super great. And then the vlog will wrap up Saturday night, because Sunday I'm heading to West Virginia, which is going to be a whole vlog in itself. So at this point, guys, it's around 2 o'clock. I have 1 hour until my client call. I figured I should do some language learning, because tonight at 9 p.m. I have my private Chinese lesson with my tutor, who I've been with for 2 years at this point, Melody. She's fantastic. And so I should probably brush up on my Mandarin for my lesson. And so I'm not trying to optimize every minute of my day, but when I think to myself, okay, I have an hour, I could go watch TV. Absolutely. I could, of course, do more planning for my business. I could go back to my Bentley biography. But it would make me happy, and it would also be a good use of the hour to review some flashcards, maybe watch some like Chinese comprehension videos and stuff. So yeah, all of the links of stuff I've been telling you guys is below. I just have my link tree there, as well as my website. Talk to you later. Bye.